Okay, I'd like to welcome everyone to the December meeting of the Cascade Stereoscopic Club, and thanks for taking the time to attend. Okay, we're streaming to YouTube again. I believe YouTube, I believe the Lume Pad 2 still has a problem with LeiaTube on live streamed 3D content, but I think if you go back and play it in LeiaTube after the fact, it works just fine. But unless Matt has any updates on that.
I do not. I was actually going to reach out to them, but I still have that. I still see that same behavior.
Okay. So in any case, we can get started. The agenda for this evening is that the theme is exhibits, and then of course open projector show and tell. We'll show part 1 of Code Folio 34 and talk about upcoming events, and then have our social hour. So once again, thanks to everybody for attending, and let's get started. So first is Dave with his theme.
Oh boy, that's hard to look at.
Yeah,
That's why.
that's bright.
Maybe it's too deep. Oh well, exhibits. Here is, I think, PSA in Boise about 10 years ago, probably, maybe even more. I don't know.
Yeah, I remember that.
And look at those projectors! Wow, I'd have 2 of them sitting on the table and nothing fancy.
And look at all the people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if we're going to have that many people this year in 2025, Lee. But,
Yeah, I think somebody told me that that year ISU was at the same location at the same time.
Okay.
I wasn't sure whether it was ISU or PSA.
Yeah.
I
think it was a combined. It was a combined.
Right.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's why there's so many.
Okay.
I wonder if that's Shab Levy down there next to the projectors.
I would bet that is.
For those who don't know Shab, he kind of started this club.
And
Yeah, this is just the flat pictures X exhibits of Colorado Springs. And I was told you're not supposed to take a picture of them, but I wanted to have a picture. This was ours. I want to say thanks to Jim Olson, because he got this all started with the state fair. This is our first 3D exhibition at the state fair. And this was way, do you remember when it was, Jim?
What year?
Yeah, what year? Probably 2003, 2004, something way back like that.
Well, we had fun. I got people laughing. I cut out cardboard to go over their big windows, painted black,
Yeah.
so that we can get it dark enough.
Yeah. Anyway,
That's not great.
this was one of the views of the cards. Next, another view of the same thing. Other people looking at the cards, and that's Ron Creasel's 3 pictures up there, and that.
Oh yeah.
That was really popular. Everybody loved that picture.
Mount Hood?
No, it's the coast. You know, the coast with a tree and the
Yeah.
the mountains are the beach. You know the.
Yeah, ocean scene, windswept tree, cliff.
Yeah. Anyway, here's all the people. Here's all the people looking at the. I says, "All right, put your glasses on," and they all did, and so I took a picture.
That's a great shot.
That was, and look at that projector, a slide projector.
Yeah,
Even.
yeah.
Anyway, this is, I think the next year, I'm not sure, but it's the next one. Again, it was just anaglyph, and I think it looks like they had a video with some cards. You can see the red-blue glasses on the right. This is another year, and this was even another year. That's when we finally discovered what phantographs were. That little boy on one of my pictures was over there trying to pick something up, but I only had the left eye. I didn't have the left and the right eye, so I couldn't show him picking up something. Anyway, and this was the last one. This is all lenticulars. They gave us that whole row. You know, most of those kind of folding displays had, you know, maybe 30 or 40 artists in it, and our club had the whole thing. This was the last one.
Yeah, and that was the only one I attended, and I have a photo of this same wall.
I think I attended. I saw this. Yeah, this looks familiar.
Yeah, I guess there's one more of the photo of the. Yeah, there I think is the world's longest anaglyph picture.
Wow.
That is over 25 feet long, and what's his name? The 3D Rich Dubno printed that for us out of his printer, and it took about 11 hours to print it, and I don't have any idea what it cost him.
So basically, one of the interesting things is for people who are familiar with Image 3D that makes ViewMaster style reels, he has two printers that print on media that is that wide, and normally most of the time he's printing on film media and then laminating it on both sides with transparent plastic to give it rigidity, and then he has a die cutter machine that cuts the ViewMaster reels. So in other words, he can probably cut about half a dozen or maybe 8 reels from the width of that, and so basically what he does is when he's manufacturing it, he does it on film, but the machine can also print on paper, and we have used that for printing lenticulars. The lenticulars that you were looking at were printed by that thing. It basically is a photographic process, so it's actually continuous tone. It's not made up of little dots, and it's 2540 DPI, so of continuous tone. So it makes fantastic, or I should say it made fantastic lenticulars, but now he's sold the business to his daughters, and he no longer prints on paper media. It's just transparent media.
This one was printed on a commercial printer. It wasn't on his big fancy thing that does the
oh, okay, then.
And the problem with this is just interesting that the red on this was not red, and it was really hard to see. The blue was a good match to the glasses, but the red was not a good match to the glasses, and you just and it was a problem with that. I think that was a Kodak printer or something. One of I don't know who makes those big wide printers.
Mm-hmm.
But like I say, it was on a roll, and he did 25 feet of it.
Okay.
So, but his red was off?
Yes.
Yeah, and I've heard that's a problem with printing an anaglyph on your color printer, is that when you buy books with anaglyphs in them, they've specially loaded the right red and blue for that to work.
Yeah.
And the printer, your home printers generally can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's what I've heard. I've not tried. But
yeah.
Anyway, Thanks,
That's-
David. Very interesting.
So much.
So
there's a more
I'm
picture.
I'm viewing this through my beam splitter wearing anaglyph glasses, and I get a nice double 3D image.
Oh,
I get a
Well, that's good. If
photo of a 3D photo. It works.
I wonder if that isn't the computer system, because when I looked at that with my 3D glasses, the red showed both the blue and the red.
Okay, well, I think I even have, so if you want to look at it on the computer screen with anaglyph glasses, you feel free to do that. Take your polarized glasses off.
It's there's so much glare and all that. I can't. You can try it if you want, but there's so much glare.
There is, yeah.
Take your
my.
polarized glasses off if you're gonna.
It's imperfect, but the 3D effect is definitely there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not really working for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
We had that printed on the wall at the state fair, and it went from this end of the wall to that end of the wall, and we had some 4x8 prints, and we really showed that when we put that show on. Anyways, so.
Okay.
How was that panorama shot then, if it was that long? Did you have a panoramic 3D camera, or how was it?
It's
How did you make
it's about 8 images all
Stitch.
Ah,
pasted together manually.
okay, got it.
Manually.
No,
Wow.
I just like you do when you make a 3D, when you make a 2D to 3D conversion, you just adjust it. Anyway, but wait, there's more. This is what I wanted to show you last week. Now look at those windows. It was windows last week. See those glass windows on that? They go from the floor up 2 stories high, so it's 20 or 30 feet tall, and the windows are about 4.5 to 5 feet wide, and those arches for the doors are supported by the glass windows, and I just can't imagine how they made those windows and how they shipped them to here. How would you ship a 30-foot long window to a job site and not break it?
No
Anyway.
kidding.
Where is this, David?
This is in China someplace. I think it's Dongwang, China. When I was working for for New Vision, the 3D glasses, New Vision, they had their glasses built in Dongwang, China. But I just wanted to throw that in since I couldn't find it last
Okay.
week.
Thank you.
That's it.
And Matt.
Hello. Yeah, I have a few for today. This one I took I guess it was back in October. This was a sneak preview of a new Wallace and Gromit movie, Vengeance Most Foul, which is in theaters now. It'll be streaming on Netflix in January. And this is the co-director, Merlin Crossingham. And I was able to get up close and photograph this nice exhibit of these models, these characters from the film. And it looks like he's about to slam his fist on them. I don't think that's actually what's happening. But I like the way that I was able to capture an expression on his face. And I took this with my X-Real Beam Pro.
Cool.
Nice photo.
Yeah.
And this is from a film screening, a preview of a movie about the animator Will Vinton, Will Vinton Studios, which was in Portland, I think. They were a claymation studio. The movie was called Clay Dream, and this is an exhibit of some examples of their work. You can see a California raisin kind of obscured in the corner there. I took this with my Kucam Ego a phone which, a camera, which I've kind of retired. It did drive me crazy, but I did like the way it was able to shoot in low light. I didn't brighten this up or anything. I kind of liked the dark room, and
Hey,
I did intentionally put everything in front of the window.
It looks fantastic coming out of the screen like that. It really
Yes, I had to keep it that way. Yes, thank you. And this is at a science museum in San Francisco, the Exploratorium, and this was actually a field trip of the Golden Gate Stereoscopic Society. That's Steve Siegel, Melinda Green, and Tor Clippert. And they are discussing an exhibit called, and I have this written down here, it's the Machine with Concrete, which is, I think, the title of the photo. And it is a motor connected to a block of concrete via a system of gears. And the final gear is set up to make one revolution every 13.7 billion years. It's movement reduced to stillness. I took this with my W3. It's actually one of my most favorite shots ever. I just love the expression on everyone's faces. Steve is kind of explaining what the concept of this exhibit is, and Melinda's kind of like just grasping it, and Tor is looking on. I don't think I used a flash for this. I'm not sure exactly how I took it, but I'm sure it was definitely with the W3.
You did
This
use
was
a
a
flash,
couple years
because you
ago.
can see the shadow on the left is different than the shadow on the right.
There you go. That's the telltale sign of the W3 flash, right between those two lenses.
It's
Yeah.
not real obtrusive though. Kind of hidden behind his hands.
Yeah,
In this case, I think it works. Yeah.
yeah, it did work better here.
And this is another exhibit at the Exploratorium from another visit. This is called Tidal Memory. And it kind of records the tides. I think these pipes actually go through the floor. The museum is built on a pier, and these tubes go right into the water. And I like this one quite a bit. I think the verticals work really well in stereo.
Yeah.
And this is a diorama from an exhibit. I didn't show the whole exhibit. This was an exhibit of dioramas by the School of Production Design in Oakland. This is a diorama of a set design for a streetcar named Desire. And this is a little cha-cha with my iPhone, and the distance is maybe half an inch, something like that. And this is an exhibit by the Golden Gate Stereoscopic Society at Maker Faire. That's Steve and Tor. We've got our 3D TV set up. We've got a couple Lume Pads. There's a big lenticular print that Steve had made. There's some handouts and our banner, and that exhibit was a big success. And this final photo I just sort of threw in out of. It's not my photo. This is actually a AI render image gen, and then I ran it through. What is it? Immersity? What is Leia picks now? Immersity to convert it to 3D. This is an exhibit the Golden Gate Stereoscopic Society is planning for 2025 using our 3D TV and a pop-up tent. And I just thought it would be interesting to show being an all AI stereo image.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, cool.
And Bob.
This is a it's called the Museum of Historic Sanitary Objects. It's in Gamunden, Iowa.
Austria. This is the first ISU convention I went to. I think it was back in '09. And quick story, back then you could take 2 large suitcases each on the airplane for no charge. So we took 4 large suitcases and we camped out for about 10 days over there.
Cool.
It was an interesting experience. So this is one of the trips the Congress took. And here's more sanitary objects. This is another ISU trip. Same Congress. This is it's a zoo that exhibits domestic animals that are, I guess, sort of in danger or something like that. It's in Germany. That's probably a different Congress. This is some chairs. It's called the Museum of Decorative Arts in Berlin. I like the contrast between the simple box and the wavy one. Got the old grocery cart there for a chair. Somebody's kind of creative.
That's a wheelchair. I mean, not a wheelchair, but a
Grocery
chair
cart.
with casters.
I call this one the spider web chair. This is in the Pergamon Museum in Berlin. It's a exhibit of a Babylonian gate. Goes back to 575 BC.
Wow.
And I think Ken did a show on this for us a while back. This is it's an art exhibit called Delicate Forces. It was at one of the conservatories we have in Rockford, Illinois. Various flower shapes, and some of them had lights, and they would move up and down and open and close. That's another one of the art exhibits.
Well, that's a lot of work on that one.
Same exhibit.
Okay, and Ken.
This is H.H. Bennett Studio. It's the oldest photographic studio in America. Established in 1865, this studio was built in 1875 by Henry Hamilton Bennett, a pioneer in landscape photography known for his artistry and technical genius. The Bennett family operated the studio until 1998, when it was donated to the Wisconsin Historical Society, and it's a museum with many fascinating exhibits. It's open from Memorial Day to Labor Day.
What city is this in?
It's in the Wisconsin Dells, which is about 100 miles north of Rockford, Illinois.
I always thought Dells was more of a whole area, not just
The Wisconsin Dells. The city was started out as a city called Kilbourne, and they changed the name to the Wisconsin Dells, probably to increase the tourist trade. Now this is capturing the instant. In 1886, Bennett developed an instantaneous shutter, making photos like this possible. Now I have a confession to make here. This stereo card image isn't a Bennett original. It's from the Library of Congress, and it's labeled, one of the labels is Photographer Unknown. I tried to find a similar review by Bennett at the Wisconsin Historical Society. Their restrictions on use are very severe. Their images cannot be copied, distributed, published, altered in any way, and on and on and on. The only thing missing is the mummy's curse. What I'll do is I will include a link to a similar Bennett stereo card on the Historical Society's website in the chat, so I'll do that after I get done talking here.
Okay, thanks, Bob.
And this is a hands-on stereoscope exhibit. The world at your fingertips. As everybody knows, in the mid to late 1800s, the stereoscopes were as common in American homes as TVs are today. And here's a H.H. Bennett stereoscopic camera. Close-up look at the camera that he used to create his stunning stereo views. And this is a portrait or a studio camera from his collection, highlighting the tools of his trade. Go ahead. This is his studio desk. It's displayed with historic artifacts that offer a glimpse into the daily life of the studio. He was an inventor, and he invented a rotating solar print house. And the original, it was sent to the Smithsonian Institution. There is like a replica at the museum.
What do you mean a solar replica print house?
A rotating solar, because they didn't have lights back in the 1850s, 1860s. They had used skylights, and he put the print house on a rotating base.
Okay.
And he had a chain like it to almost like a ship wheel. And as the sun moved across the sky, he would rotate it so the skylight would track the sun.
Wow.
So he could print all day long.
Wow.
And this is a recreation of how the store looked at the end of the 1800s. I just love the stereo cards there. This is a fun display featuring a personal Viewmaster camera. I don't know if you're like me, but I love going and finding a something that I have at home. I get to see in a museum too.
Yeah, makes it more valuable.
I guess. And this last one is not from the Bennett Museum. It almost looks like a museum. This is a part of Ron Fredrickson's camera collection. I don't know if you folks know Ron Fredrickson. I took this with a red hydrogen one when I visited him last month. I just wanted to focus on the camera on the bottom shelf, front row center. That's a Contura stereo camera. Contura was designed by Seton White in 1955 for the Stereo Corporation in Milwaukee. It's arguably one of the most beautiful crafted stereo cameras of its time, or cameras of its time. Its technical details were by Rockwhite, and the sleek styling was done by Brooks Stevens, who also designed Harley-Davidson's Hydroglide, racing boats, and the Studebaker Excalibur sports car. Only 150 were made due to the dwindling demand and competition from Kodak, which flooded the market, and so both of those led to only 150 of those being made.
Yeah.
And this is one of them.
Wow.
Okay, Ken, that's very
Cool.
interesting.
Yeah.
Hey, Herb, can I add a couple comments
Sure.
to Ken's?
If
If you don't mind, Ken.
Go ahead.
When I went up to the Dells, where that picture was taken of the man jumping across the rocks, they had a dog doing it, and it also had a net underneath the dog in case he messed up. I don't know if they're still doing that or not. And also on the floor of the museum, they have a couple of, say, circles drawn, so you can try to recreate jumping across that gap yourself, so you can see how big it is. And it's a little bit of a jump.
If you wanted to do it at home, it's a 5.5-foot jump.
Wow.
It looks a little bit bigger in the photograph.
Yeah,
But it's
but
fun
you
to
don't want to
have.
make a mistake.
5.5 feet is still quite a bit to have to jump, especially when the consequences of making a mistake are rather high.
Yeah.
It's amazing how many pictures you see of people like just lounging on standing rock, and how many people jump back and forth. It's like the thing to do.
Okay, David.
Okay, I went through and just grabbed a bunch of pictures from various museums I've been to recently. So some of them you've seen before, and I apologize, but maybe some are new. This is some cannons at the Marine Corps Museum, and they date from the late 1800s. It looks like in the back they're projecting a scene from the Civil War, but I think these cannons are actually the late 1800s.
So that one on the cannon in the foreground almost looks like a stereoscopic sight on the cannon.
Yeah, it does. I don't know.
That's what I was going to ask. Where are those two small rifle barrels the cannon, or is it something underneath the cannon?
I'm not sure.
Hard to tell. Looks like got a good, what do you call it, protection to not get shot.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's what you want. Okay, this is an FA-18A aircraft at the same museum, the Marine Corps Museum. And it's over hanging over a not yet opened exhibit they're planning to celebrate the Iraq and Afghanistan campaigns. But they had it rigged up so that you could see it from a higher vantage point.
I like the lights in the shot. That's neat.
It's amazing how many lights it takes to light up these exhibits. Okay, this is a furniture exhibit at the Williamsburg, Virginia Art Museum. I was just wandering around there trying to find some good shots, and the furniture was standing still, so I took some pictures. Similar at the same museum. And this is also the same museum, a bunch of grandfather clocks, which are always interesting to look at.
Yeah, that's what I got to say. Yeah. Okay,
this is the American Helicopter Museum in Westchester, Pennsylvania, outside of Philadelphia. They've got, I don't know how many, hundreds of helicopters crammed into this big hangar there. They're like right up against each other. I've got a few pictures here from this. It's amazing how many little tiny helicopters they had. That's a big troop transport helicopter. And some of these look kind of experimental, and I think they are. And it's some little bitty ones, the kids were playing in them.
Wow.
It's a very nice museum if you ever get up to the Philadelphia area. Okay, and it just so happened the day we were there, which was like Thanksgiving weekend last year, I believe. Go ahead to the next one. They had an exhibit of toy trains there. Some toy train club in the area set up these trains. They were only there for 2 days. Just happened to be lucky. We didn't know they were going to be there. This is at the Winterthur Mansion in Delaware. It was one of the big mansions owned by the DuPont family. And it's basically a big museum. All the rooms are set up with a lot of old furniture that the owner collected. So there's room after room that looks like this. And this is at the same museum, same in a museum part of the mansion. They had an exhibit of dresses by some famous designer. I don't remember who it was, but made a pretty good 3D picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is my collection of Viewmasters in my home museum, if you will.
Oh, nice.
I love them. Some old ones too.
Yeah.
They're all Viewmasters, except at the very top you can see a Holmes viewer. And at the very bottom right, that's a Lestrade viewer from France. So it uses cards similar to some of the True View viewers used cards like that.
Yeah.
Compatible, of course. And this is a little different. This is, I took this picture to tell you guys about this company. I think you guys in Washington State. I have no connection to this at all, except I bought these. And he sells these, essentially I call them amateur quality 3D videos. But what they are is, he goes to various museums, aviation museums in particular, and walks through with his camera. And so there's some very nice 3D footage there, and the videos are cheap, like $17. And there's a 4-volume set. There's 3 here, and the 4th one I just ordered and it arrived today in the mail. Then the one on the right is a documentary about the Goodyear blimp. And in that video, which is currently out of stock on his website, but I imagine I'll get more of them. He went on a trip with the last of the original design blimps, Goodyear. I don't know if you know, a few years ago they contracted with a Zeppelin company in Germany to build rigid old blimps to replace all the old ones. So he was able to get on board the last one and take a trip with it with his camera. So it's very interesting to see. Of course, the 3D camera is not good for shooting down at the ground from a blimp, but he has a lot of good shots inside the cabin of the blimp. So anyone's interested in this. In fact, one of these aviation 3D videos, he goes to the Evergreen Museum, which is near you guys, I think.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And I was really impressed. That's a fantastic museum.
Yeah,
I think it's good or better than the museum here, the Air and Space Museum here.
It's only about 45 minutes south of here.
Okay.
South.
So anyway, if you're interested, check it out. Like I said, I have no connection to the guy, but I thought he does good work.
Thanks, David. And Mohanan.
Yeah. I am presenting
3 permanent exhibits and 2 live exhibits. This is retired aircraft from the first India's aircraft carrier Vikrant. This is the Museum of the Air Base of the Navy at Goa. This is another exhibit at the entrance of an aquarium. It is by a private firm. So they are showing the fisherman market in the show. A small structures. This is another big cement structure near the river on the front side of this Idealist Park. On the right hand side, after around 100 meters, there is a boat jetty for the crossing the river. A lot of colocasia plants are there, so the side of the river is filled with these colocasia plants.
Have you had that in an exhibition? It seems like I've seen that before.
Yeah, I put it in even DD 68, PSADD 68,
Okay.
Group 68.
Cool. That dog is just crazy.
Yeah, that's again cement. This is a temple dance form. Usually held in the night, but some festivals they show the form as an exhibit. Here the man is wearing the big mask on his head and face.
Since
Since it is too much red color, I don't know whether it is good for anaglyph.
Looks good on the 3D TV.
Yeah.
This is called the Theyyam dance. Theyyam. They walk through fire also.
This
There is another traditional temple dance called the Padayani. Here again, the mask is, you can see the person is wearing, he was an old man, so he was asked to sit in the stool, and then the other person was helping.
Okay, and thank you, Mohani.
Yeah.
And Jim. Jim, you're muted.
This is such an interesting meeting, and I've missed all of it. I just can't seem to get the
Video?
the rooms thing to work. I finally found it. It was tiny. Anyway, if you give me an idea of what you see, I can.
Yeah, okay, there's, it looks like a porcelain, a man and a bird, a lot of birds,
Seagulls. A guy with a yellow shirt with a golf club.
Well, I think those are the wood carvings. It's one of the exhibits in the. We have an exhibit area on each of the floors of the place where I am, Russellville. And that's shots of one of the display cases that's a wood carver.
Okay. And this is, I guess, a whole bunch of wood carvings. People with books.
Singers.
Singers. Okay.
Singers
with music.
That's interesting. What are you looking at? It's different.
And
then there's one of the quilts.
yeah, this is a horse.
Okay, that's one of his wood carvings.
Yeah, and some cowboys in the lower part of the frame.
Looks like that horse was to be ridden with a child, rocked back and forth.
Yeah, hobby horse sort of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I think it gave me that feeling too.
And these are the quilts.
Oh yeah, quilts with cats.
And some close-ups of the quilts.
Yeah, I know the lady that does those.
And wooden shoes.
Yeah, those are carved shoes.
Wow.
Probably not meant to be worn.
No.
Or not comfortable if you tried to wear them.
No, probably not.
And some guitars.
Hey, you like that?
Sure. My brother is the head person with the League of American Luthiers.
Oh wow.
His guitar builders, he has members around the world. And this was his last convention in the Tacoma area.
Wow.
Nice.
And so that must be him posing in front of a guitar.
No, that's not my brother, but that's somebody, one of the makers of guitars.
Yeah, a fellow named Will Schmidt.
Yeah, that guitar sure has a funny opening. Most of them are round and in the middle, but that's a square one.
Thin body too.
Yeah.
Less, about half the usual depth. Maybe not half, but definitely less.
So I saw 100 beautifully made guitars, handmade guitars.
Wow. And this looks like it might be a conductor.
Oh, a pirate, I bet.
Pirate, I'd say.
Pirate.
Sword, yeah.
Okay, I thought it was
Man
a conductor with a
stick.
baton.
Hard to tell.
Is it a puppet?
Yeah. I
Yeah,
was,
that's a Shakespeare character
oh,
in one of the display cases. There are a number of Shakespeare characters, and according to the man that put them there, he and his wife did a little puppet show of The Tempest by Shakespeare.
Okay, thank you, Jim.
cool.
Okay.
And so my turn. So this first photo is the same exhibit that Dave showed. So the three people from the club who went to set that up, me, David, and Ron. And so this is, we had somebody else hold the camera and just take a picture of the three of us after we had finished setting it up. So all of these are lenticulars, and I think, if I remember correctly, each panel is a different club member, or though some club members may have had two panels. So the nearest panel is lenticulars that I photographed, and these were all printed at Image 3D using the printer that he had there before he shut it down. And so, and then this was before he tried going into the lenticular business, so these were all manually aligned and mounted, and so it was quite a production to make all of these.
Yes, we had a real good cooperation with a lot of people for those lenticulars, and I'm amazed we had that many.
Oh yeah, a lot of club participation on that. Yeah. Really
Well,
nice.
I mean, because it was an opportunity to make some nice lenticulars at a very minimal cost.
Yes.
Because you were paying for the lenses, but you weren't paying for the prints. And as I said, these were printed on photographic media at 2540 dpi. So that's 2540 dpi continuous tone, not a 2540 inkjet dot matrix printer. And so, anyway, and the rest of the photos were shot at one of the OMSI mini maker fairs. I have previously shown photos of the Cascade Stereoscopic Club table at the fair, so I didn't show any of those photos. These are taken outside, because they filled the whole inside of the museum and then outside in the parking lot. So these are some pretty amazing vehicles.
Wow. That pedaled, I guess.
No, I think that might be a steam engine. I'm not sure. I don't think that one is pedaled. It does use, a crank. I don't recall. I might be completely mistaken, but it does use, like bicycle wheels and big.
Wonder where they get those spokes. Wow.
I believe this was all made. I mean, it's a maker fair, so you make it.
Yeah.
And this is a walking machine.
I'd like to see that work. Wow.
And they did at times, when I took this photo, it was just there being posed. But later on in the day, they did have it walking.
Phew.
And this is the Puddletown panorama. So that the woman toward the back, or sort of
Center.
in the center, that's Claire.
Claire.
And she basically had this project to create this exhibit, and she traveled around a bit with it. I believe she did go to what's that thing in the desert? The
Burning Man.
Burning
Man. Yeah.
I believe she did take it to
Yeah.
Burning Man. Unfortunately, she didn't have a place to store it, so I believe that it just it might have been stored outdoors more than it should have been, and it basically, I mean, it didn't last. It's
Yeah.
very unfortunate that that she put in a huge amount of money, and it is no more. But this is, you can see the thing that she made that to tow. So the thing in the
Wow.
back is a trailer. The thing in the front will tow it. And then people could, the ramp, people could walk up on the trailer, and there was sort of like 6
They call them stereopticons, didn't they?
okay, I don't know.
Stereopticons?
I think that's what they call that machine that you actually look into.
Yeah.
Oh.
Not the viewers, but anyway.
Okay, so anyway, 6 people at a time could look in and view the stereoscopic
right.
images.
Right. Yeah.
And you can sort of see it's sort of between Claire and the person to Claire's. It's basically the guy in the black thing. Between Claire and the guy in the black, you can sort of see that viewer.
Yeah.
And, another shot.
I never got to see it.
And you can see the logo, Puddletown Panorama. So the green thing is a forward P and a backwards P, and so that was the Puddletown Panorama. And this was a CO2 powered bicycle. So that tank was filled with pressurized CO2 that would basically, it was set up so that it could alternately fill 2 different cylinders, which could, basically, like a 2-cylinder car, if you imagine, which would pedal the bike. And
There's 2 of them, but the one in the back is something too.
yeah, that has a smaller cylinder on it.
Yeah.
And this was a sort of working model. I don't believe it was an authorized, George Lucas model. It was just something that somebody built, and the head would go back and forth, and the lights would flash, and you can see that girl is fascinated by it. And I like this photo because it shows that it's at OMSI.
Yeah.
And so that's my collection. And on to Mark.
Yeah, I had trouble finding any exhibits, but I found a batch of slides. We went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland, and that's that odd angular building behind the Cleveland sign here, so all my exhibit shots are from that. So they have quite a bit of items arranged in a good way for 3D photos to capture there. Lots of depth in their displays. I don't have specifics about most of these, but it's just an interesting look through the museum there.
That dark blue one has got 12 strings on it?
Yeah, it
Look
looks
at
like
all
a
the
12
winders.
string. Looks like a 12 string.
Even the displays like this on the wall, they had a lot of layers of things kind of stacked over each other that the 3D camera picks up well.
Yeah, that's a bizarre guitar, the black one with the skull.
Yeah.
Music of the Midwest.
Heavy metal.
You kind of like guitars, don't you?
Me?
Well, they have plenty of them there.
He took a lot of them.
Oh. Yeah, yeah.
You
Reminds
took-
me of the Experience Music Project, which I've only been to once.
Hmm. And they had extensive write-ups about all this stuff. It's too small to read in these pictures, but
What camera did you use for those close-ups?
it was very dark in there, so all these shots were made with a pair of Samsung NX1000s. I tried some shots with the W3, but it was too dark to get anything decent out of a W3.
I found that when I go to the anti-shake setting, I can photograph lower light levels.
Yeah, I see where for photographs, low light levels would be kind of common in a situation like this.
Yeah.
You know, you have a kind of a darkened interior, then subject lights, which aren't real bright, because over time that'll fade whatever it's shining on.
Yeah, they probably keep it dim intentionally for that reason.
Yeah.
Is this making anyone feel old?
Like most of this is in our lifetime.
That's a tape recorder and it looks like a suitcase.
Yeah, I bet that's before my lifetime. Maybe not by a lot, but before.
That's quite a place there. You can spend many hours walking around in there.
Oh yeah.
I like the zigzag wall in this shot.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Interesting photos. And Jim, this is your open projector.
Okay, I've been struggling. I'm still not getting anywhere.
Is that a bracelet?
Yeah, we got a wooden bracelet of some sort here, Jim, or a ring.
That's a bowl made by
It's a bowl, okay.
my daughter-in-law's father.
Boy, that's a lot of work, inlays, wow.
Oh, yeah.
Oof.
So Jim, what I would suggest is when it's not a meeting time, you can go and try and make StereoPix rooms work, and it'll still be operational, but it won't, like right now I'm advancing it automatically, but you would be able to advance it manually. But in other words, you can take as much time as you need to get the display working correctly when you're not in the meeting using that same website.
Well, I found the website and it said, do I want to come in? What's the word for it? Check in or
Log in.
log in? Do I want to log in?
You shouldn't need
Well,
to
I
log
haven't had to
in.
do that before.
You shouldn't need to log in.
Huh.
Oh, with a picture of an old 3D camera.
I don't think you're at the right website.
Well, it's
Yeah. Maybe I can get down there one of these days, Jim, and we can figure it out. We can
well,
try
I'd love
anyway.
that.
These are really fancy bowls sitting on a chair.
103rd and Burnside. Well, if you'll give me an idea what the picture looks like, I can describe it.
Yeah, we're looking into a wooden bowl now.
Yeah,
With little spokes in it.
Yeah, that's wood turning on the lathe, made to look like a southwestern Indian basket.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it really looks like a basket, but it's wood, made of wood.
Okay. And is this a lathe?
Yeah, there's a couple of them at the wood lathe there.
Yeah, it's probably your
And
father's.
there's wood shavings all over his shirt.
Yeah.
Jim, I just pasted the URL for the website in the chat. If you click on that, it might take you to the proper Stereoscopic room.
Okay, thank you.
And this looks like 3 raccoons. Are those
Nice.
mice?
Chipmunks.
Yeah, the next pictures are taken at the zoo in Seattle.
Oh.
And they have a lot of wonderful real animals and a lot of not real animals. They made of fabric, I think, and when it gets later in the day, they turn the lights on inside them. And also fanciful plants made the same way.
And this is looks like a horse from a carousel.
Yeah, that's the carousel, that's the zoo.
Okay.
That's my granddaughter, Inez.
I didn't know there was a carousel at the zoo.
Yes.
In is it Portland Zoo or?
Portland Zoo has one too.
Oh,
This is the Woodland Park Zoo.
Woodland
in
Park
Seattle.
Zoo. Okay.
Some kind of bird.
Is that a fanciful looking bird?
Yep.
Yeah, that's one of those sculptures. I don't know what they're made of, but they have those birds and animals made of that material all through the zoo.
Okay. And
Big lizard or
Yeah, I got a big lizard sticking its tongue out at us.
Well, I've got one of a real lizard with a tongue sticking out, and then I have another one of the non-real.
Oh,
this is not real.
dragon.
This is the not real. Okay, that was the last one. So
Okay, thank you.
thank you, Jim. And George.
Yeah, hi guys. Yes, I don't know how many of you know Vinny. I call him the most famous dog in 3D. I've shown some pictures in the club and I had pictures in exhibitions. Well, unfortunately, Vinny passed away a couple of weeks ago, so I decided to have a short presentation. Next. Now, the thing is, people think Vinny is my dog. Well, it turns out it's the neighbor's dog. I met Vinny when the neighbor put a message on Facebook asking for a young runner to run with this 1-year-old dog, an Australian Shepherd. So I responded, does it have to be a young? She says, well, I cannot pay, expectations will be low. And I said, well, I'll do it for free. Give me a chance to do something, find a running companion, and this is what happened. That was about 4 years ago. Next. So, me and Vinny and my wife, every morning we had a routine where we get up, go out, doesn't matter the weather. We've seen all our seasons, like winter here. Next. Spring.
very nice.
Next. So it became a routine that we have wake up, have breakfast, do some puzzles, and then go and take Vinny for the daily walk. About 3 miles, an hour and a half.
Wow.
That was our exercise and his exercise. Next.
I've always wondered do you walk the dog for the dog's sake, or do you walk the dog for your sake?
In this case, it was definitely both. And fall was maybe our best favorite season, but Vinny would have no problem going out at 100 degrees F down to 0 degrees. He was always ready to go out running with us. Next. Now, of course, being a stereo photographer, I always carry a stereo camera with me, and it so happened that I photographed Vinny with every piece of 3D equipment I owned in those 4 years. For example, Fuji W3. Next. This was taken with twin Sony's RX100 cameras, and you see that I like to take him framed with bridges, the railroad. Next. A selfie with the Panasonic Lumix 3D1. The narrow spacing of the camera makes it good for this purpose. Next. So, I've actually, here I made a list of all the cameras, and this is from a presentation I gave last April. It was a sequence that I presented in Ohio. It's missing the X-Real Big Pro that I didn't have at the time. And I was writing tutorials for the Ohio newsletter, and Vinny is always prominent in the tutorial. The thing with Vinny and the trail walks, it's a challenge because the light is low, the span is confined, so everything matters, the stereo base, the shutter speed, the aperture, and the ISO. So I learned about photography, and I tested all those cameras by using Vinny and our daily hikes as my primary method for testing. Next. And we had certain standard pictures I'm always taking. One is Vinny jumping to catch the stick, and later it was a treat. He lost interest in the sticks, but always had interest in the treats. So a whole sequence of pictures where he's dancing on two legs. Next. And of course we have the leaping over pieces of wood, trees in the trail. These are not easy to take because you cannot just tell the dog jump, you know. Next, as it turns out, Vin is clever and he will follow the path of least resistance instead of going jumping at the dog, he goes underneath. Anyway, it's been this day I'll never forget. It snowed overnight, and we thought my wife and I were going to do this trail we normally do. So we got in, and the conditions started getting worse. Nobody had walked in the snow trails. It was very deep. It was getting harder and harder. And we reached a point where we couldn't really proceed. But at this point, the effort to go back would be the same as the effort to move forward. So we decided to move forward. It took a long time, and really just crazy that we went out in this deep snow to walk. But I so happened to capture one of my favorite winter portraits of Vinny in this hiking. Next. So I ended my presentation last April with this to be continued. Unfortunately, it's not going to be continued. What happened is, a couple of weeks ago, I noticed that Vinny was appeared tired. He wouldn't run, he wouldn't sprint. After our walk, he couldn't jump in the car, things that had no problem doing. So they took him to the doctor, and his blood level were totally off, very low blood cell, red cell counts. And they treated him for autoimmune disease, but he didn't respond to the treatment, and he was getting worse, and then they had to put him down.
Yeah.
And the last picture, I have, you might ask, well, how many pictures do I have from Vinny? So the next one, I have easily over 1,000 pictures. Every day, carrying my stereo cameras for 4 years, I took all these pictures you see here. This is a little composite. All these pictures exist in 3D. And he actually has appeared in Stereo World several times. Has entered exhibition awards and exhibitions. Kind of a sad story. I'm never going to forget him. It was great 4 years we had together. And that's it.
Well,
I'm hoping the family will get another dog. I haven't asked them yet. They always had a dog in their house. And I'll be the first one to walk with him.
That dog has an interesting
That's a touching story about the neighbor's dog.
Yes.
That's a nice tribute, George.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for
Yeah,
sharing,
it's great.
and I know it's a hard time for you, and so condolences on.
Thank you.
And one of the things that I do from time to time is when somebody submits an interesting set of photos, like typically for Open Projector, what I'll do is I'll turn that into a featured article in the Stereo Views. So what I'm probably going to do is feature a lot of these photos in the upcoming Stereo Views for January with a tribute. So
Thank you. That's nice. Mm-hmm.
That
That would be very nice.
okay, and so I have one photo for Open Projector. Basically, these are the medals from the Cascade exhibition, and one of the things that I like is I like toys, and so probably a year and a half ago I got a laser engraver, and one of the things that it does a very nice job of is it's actually not engraving metal, it's actually marking the metal. So it's actually a chemical reaction. The way this is done is you spray the back of the metal with a special chemical, and then when you run the laser over it, it heats it up to a sufficient temperature that the chemical causes the metal to oxidize. I assume it's an oxidation reaction. I don't know exactly what the reaction is, but it basically creates that black mark on the metal, and it seems to work on every metal that I've tried it on: the brass, the bronze, the and so in the past, what we used to do was we used to just stick sticky back labels on the back of our metals, but now this is the second year what we've done is we actually have laser marked them. And so anyway, I just gave the batch of metals to Gary, who will ship it out to the people who have won medals in this year's exhibition, but I just thought it would be interesting to show what it looks like when we do that.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Thank you. And so the three in the front row just show what the front of the medals look like, just so you can see. We use the PSA gold medals for the gold medals, and then the silver and bronze medals are medals that we've had custom made for the Cascade Stereoscopic Club. And Mark.
Yeah, so I've got a bunch of comments. I've been writing them down here so I don't forget anything, so I'm just going to read these, and I've got comments for each slide here. So I'm going to start out. I saw this two-dimensional Craigslist ad recently where someone was looking to buy vintage holiday blow mold pieces. The blow mold pieces are rigid plastic hollow sculptures with a light bulb inside, not to be confused with today's popular holiday fabric air-blown figures that are inflated by a fan. I contacted them and told them I did not have any blow mold figures for sale, but that I did 3D photography, and after seeing the photos in his ad, I thought this display might be an interesting 3D subject. So next. So he invited me out to his place, and I spent over 4 hours there this past Friday capturing his displays in 3D. He currently has over 800 Christmas blow molds on display. The setup of the Christmas displays takes him over 150 hours.
The owner says, people assume I have a crew, but I am the crew. He has a full-time day job, so most of the setup is done at night. I asked him if he ever panics if he hears the weather forecast for high winds. He said, no, each piece is sitting over or attached to a metal pipe or rod pounded a minimum of 12 inches into the ground. Well over a mile of hand-built electrical cord is used to plug them all in. All of the blow molds have been converted to LED lighting.
My goodness.
So is that blow like B-L-O-W or glow like G-L-O-W?
BLOW. I think it has something to do with they blow the plastic into a mold to form it
Okay.
when they're manufacturing them.
Okay.
Yeah. Which would be different by the name, different than a vacuum mold, where they kind of suck the plastic down.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how they made these. They were more popular in years past. I don't even know if they make them anymore.
Yeah, it's an older technology, is my impression.
Yeah, they're very collectible now. Yeah, as this collector is showing us. So the cost of electricity for just the Christmas display, which is on 7 hours a night over a several-week period, is approximately $400. Thanks to the LED lights. He said traditional light bulbs would cost him over $2,000 to operate. The owner believes this is the largest traditional all blow mold display in Oregon, and possibly in the western U.S. He also puts up blow mold displays for Valentine's Day, Easter, 4th of July, Halloween, and Thanksgiving. His collection for all the holidays combined consists of over 2,000 pieces. The majority of the collection is from 1990 or earlier, and many pieces are from the late 1950s to the mid-1970s. And the owner states that the two hardest scenes to collect were the choir, shown here, and the life-size nativity scene. Another shot of the choir. He says the public views from the road and comes in by invitation only. The pieces are fragile and our investment is staggering.
I bet.
So I was grateful that he allowed me to roam freely throughout the display with my 3D cameras. This display was even better for 3D than I had expected.
Okay.
Very nice.
What do you use for a camera, Mark?
Coincidentally enough, for those shots, I again used the twin pair of Samsung NX1000s on a tripod. I had them set for aperture priority because I wanted to have plenty of depth front to back and not have it use a wide aperture, which would give me blurry background. So I had it set for f8, and that took the shutter speed down on some of those shots down to about a fifth of a second or even longer. So tripod was a necessity.
Okay, so what we'll do at this point, we're going to show the ISU code folio 34A. It's the first part of a three-part video slideshow. And so what I'm going to do is I'll share my screen. So I need to be sure to share the sound.
Herb, while you're doing that, can I ask a question?
Yes.
This is Bob.
Yeah.
I joined late, I'm afraid. Really nice show tonight. And I saw that there were some images at the beginning by Mr. Brennan, I think it was. And one of them in particular was very interesting to me. I was wondering if you had any details about it. It was showing these plexiglass columns filled with some liquid.
Oh, that was the title memory thing.
That might be mine, yeah. Title memory. That was a shot at the Exploratorium Science Museum in San Francisco. If we're talking about the same image, I think we are.
It's like a piece of
large piece of tree trunk or something that's sliced in half too in the background.
Right, exactly, in the background. Right, yeah.
Nice shot.
Thank you. Yeah, I love the verticals in that shot. That's an exhibit that shows the tidal action, the raising and lowering of the tide. Those tubes, those acrylic tubes, go through the floor into the water. The museum is actually built on a pier. And I'm not sure exactly how the water levels are maintained, but it's intended to show the changing of the tide over time. And I thought it was a great composition. Thank you.
I like the Wallace and Gromit figures as well, because I like Wallace and Gromit.
That was a preview of their new movie, Vengeance Most Foul, in theaters now, streaming on Netflix in January.
Were any of those movies in 3D?
No, unfortunately,
they would have been good in 3D.
They really would be good. They'd probably be good conversion candidates. But unfortunately, we don't have a 3D Wallace and Gromit yet.
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt your flow.
No, actually, Bob, this is an interactive club meeting, so it's certainly no problem at all to ask a question. The video is being live streamed and recorded to YouTube, so I believe a link to the YouTube live stream was in the invitation, but you would be able to go back and watch that live stream. It's going to be side by side rather than anaglyph, so you should be able to view it on any device that can display side-by-side half-width 3D video. So.
This is Jim. Can I see the whole program tonight?
Yes. Yes. So essentially, in the meeting invitation, there was a link to the YouTube live stream. So if you click on that link after the meeting has ended, I don't know if it's available immediately or if it takes, an hour or two or a day, I don't know, to render. But basically that will be a recording that will be available on YouTube, basically until YouTube erases it. I don't know if they ever do. I don't know where they get all their storage for all these videos without charging us. But yes, that will be as a side-by-side half-width stereo on YouTube.
Okay, that's wonderful to hear.
And so anyway, what I am going to do, and that includes the video that I am about to play. So in other words, what will be shared on Zoom will be an anaglyph, but if you go back and watch the YouTube, it will be a side-by-side half-width video. So
okay.
I am going to share my screen, and unfortunately, it always does this. It seems,
I recall this, yeah.
I don't know why it wants to put that stupid thing. So I need to take this out of 3D mode to be able to move that off this screen, because we don't want it on my 3D TV.
There we go.
And move it over here.
Oh, onto your
Okay, and then
monitor.
put this back in 3D mode. And that's just Zoom's stupidity. Zoom does a lot of stupid things. It does too many stupid things to make a list of all the stupid things it does. And now let's play the video.
For me, it's just blank. There's
Got a cursor up there still. There we go.
Stopped it. There it goes. So, okay. So, anyway, 34 part 1 will play the next two parts at our next club meeting. January 27th. The theme is Reflections, and as always, open projector show and tell. We'll select images for round 2 of ISCC, and we'll choose themes for future meetings, and we'll show part 2 of the ISU folio. And then for February, we'll actually select images for folio 35, which is, you know, they about every 6 months, you know, twice a year, they solicit images from clubs for the code folio. And so anyway, the meeting is officially over, but I'd like to, you know, I know it's late for some folks on the East Coast, or early for some folks who, you know, are overseas. So if you, you know, if you need to leave, that's fine. If you'd like to hang around, you're welcome to hang around and talk about anything that's interesting to folks. And as I mentioned earlier, you can go back and replay the YouTube recording, and so if you missed part of the meeting, available.
I've got to go. My
Okay.
mouth is sleeping. I've talked to Ron. I've called Ron twice, and I always get just a voicemail, and they never have answered back. So
Okay.
so I don't know about Ron.
Okay.
It sounds like he answered the voicemail. I mean, it says this is Ron Kreisel.
Okay.
And you know you've got the stuff about the dues.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think Gary mailed.
Yeah, that was mailed.
And like I say, my wife.
Right.
Away.
Yeah,
Okay.
take care of her.
3 hours.
Okay.
Take
so,
care.
Thanks,
See you,
David.
Dave.
When my wife gets better, I'll talk to the rest of you guys.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Hey, Bob Curtis, I'd love to see some more of your home.
More of what?
Your home, is that your home behind you?
Oh, no, that's a fake background.
Oh,
I think it's an English pub.
oh, okay.
I wish I lived there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to thank Dr. T. Is he still on?
Yes, he
George
is.
still on?
Yes.
So I went to I'm visiting my son in Denver for the holidays, and I went to the Denver Art Museum, and that Beam Pro, wow, what a joy to use compared to a W3 when you're in a low light museum and not a lot of room, to back up and get a shot. That thing just works great.
Yes,
So thanks for promoting it, George.
You're welcome. I haven't received my Stereo World. Did you guys get your Stereo World issue, the last one?
Yeah,
I wrote a review, but I haven't seen it yet.
Mine arrived.
I got mine.
Okay.
Maybe if they publish your work, they hold it back for a week or two to create anxiety. I don't know.
Is it mailed from Ohio or from Oregon?
I think it's mailed from Oregon, isn't it?
Oh. Maybe that's why it's late. I don't know.
Mark, you're muted. Mark?
I'm trying to find the button. There we go.
There you go.
Sorry, I didn't realize. It's printed in Illinois, and then I don't know if it's shipped to a shipping house somewhere else to actually send out to the members, or where it gets mailed from. But there was some kind of a snafu this time around. Everybody's was delayed. I just got mine a couple days ago, so George, hopefully you'll be seeing yours soon.
Okay.
I've actually got a question for you, George, too. It had been a while since I pulled out the Samsung NX1000 cameras to use for the global display that I shot there, and I found a couple of my batteries have expanded to the point where I think I could have pushed them in, but I didn't think I'd ever get them back out of the camera.
What a good idea, yes.
Have you had anything go on like that, or do you use the Samsungs anymore? I know you kind of jump from one rig to another there.
Yeah, it's been a while, but this is a known problem. And I had a whole collection of batteries, and I test everyone, and if I find one that is difficult, is expanded, you have to throw it away. It's generating gas.
Okay.
So basically, yeah, it can get stuck in the camera.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm looking at an old issue of Stereo World. It was shipped from Pontiac, Illinois.
Oh, okay. I think that's where the printer is, but I thought last time I talked to John Dennis that he had said that the printer ships cases of them somewhere else to be shipped. Maybe that was for the overseas ones. I don't remember what he was saying, but it is printed in Illinois, though.
Okay. Bob, I know you had some questions about the Beam Pro on that you were asking on the Photo 3D about the three little buttons, and I think you got that answer. Did you finally figure out the answer?
I solved it myself.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you look at the posting for anyone who's I was on Chrome, and I wanted to go back to the previous screen. I couldn't find the back arrow. And I thought, well, gee, that's weird. I thought there was always a back arrow at the bottom. And I looked at my iPhone and the 3D Android phone, and they have a back button. Well, if you go to System, there's a setting for gestures. It's system display gestures or something like this, and you can either make a gesture, you can make it a 3-button. And so I found the setting and changed it.
So
I think
I'm
that,
curious, did you ever change the setting, or was that the default? Because nobody else, I only had one person having the same problem that he had on Facebook, and I guess he found the solution. So did you change the default at some point? Because the rest of us, I guess,
Yeah, for me, it's always been the circle, the triangle, you know, the standard Android things. I had never changed the default, so I don't know. But it might be, you know, sometimes computers can be a little bit stubborn, so it gets a weird idea about what you'd really like to do, and Zoom does that to me all the time. So
I think there was some question in the setup about what I wanted, and I think that might be how that ended up that way, in the initial setup of the device. I shared some information with George. Maybe others are interested. I have a IQH Sky, SKYY tablet, 3D tablet. I like it a lot. It's not very different from the Freebie Flight Deck Commander, except it has a newer operating system. And the actual display technology for the display is a little different from the Freebie. But anyhow, these things are over $600 new, and I paid a couple of years ago over $300 with shipping and tax. And there's an eBay vendor right now that has it, I think, with free shipping for $90. So if you're looking for a 3D tablet as a Christmas present, late Christmas present to yourself, you might be interested to check that out.
No, that sounds like a good deal.
Nice little tablet.
What's it called again?
Stereoscopic. Pardon?
What is it called again?
It's the brand is I as the letter I, Q, H, 3D, and it's Sky, SKYY.
All right.
Yeah, I have 2 of those tablets, and they're very good. I think they have, in some ways, better displays than the first Lume Pad had. They don't have any eye tracking, but they're really nice tablets.
Mm-hmm.
There's something about the quality of the image on the Freebie Commander, Flight Deck Commander tablet that I like just a little bit better. Maybe it's just the brightness setting, I don't know. I can't assign a quality to it, but the operating system on the Flight Deck Commander is so old that you can't watch YouTube 3D videos. Browser doesn't work. Lots of things. So it's good for looking at the 3D images, video or still. But that's the nice thing about this one, especially for that price. I mean, so anyhow.
If anyone gets one, definitely go to Photo 3D on Groups.io because I think David has very good instructions on how to use it, and it's well worth it to go look through those instructions.
Yeah, the weak point of that tablet is the software. So yeah, a couple of years ago I wrote a big long post on which particular software apps work the best, so you can search the Photo 3D forum for Sky and SKYY.
Thanks for the reminder.
Hey, I had a question and a comment. I guess this is Bob Curtis. I was trying to convert some of my son's 2D wedding pictures into 3D. I was using Marigold for the conversion software, and I noticed, I guess it's happened twice now. If I do like 6 or 7 conversions, something like that, then it errors me. And the error message comes up so quick I can't figure out what it's saying. I was just curious if anybody else has had that happen to them.
I haven't had that happen, but I have a little hint for you. Get some screen recording software and just record your screen as you're doing it. And then when the error pops up, you'll be able to replay the video and pause it right at that point where you get the error message and read the error message. And that's the technique I've used whenever I have an error message pop up and quickly disappear.
Good idea, thank you. I also had a comment, there's been some stuff on Photo 3D where they're talking about, I'm only going to use a 2D camera from now on and just convert all my pictures, and there's a whole string of stuff about that. And I noticed on these wedding pictures that I'm working on that the photographer, the photographs ended up being kind of out of focus in the front, out of focus in the back, but very sharply focused on what the photographer was trying to take a picture of, the main object of her picture. And that doesn't work so well for 3D, because normally our pictures are pretty much in focus from the front to the back. So I would think that would be a disadvantage in trying to use conversion for all your 2D pictures.
Yeah. Yeah. Unless they knew how to shoot it.
Like, can you use something like Topaz to try and sharpen the foreground and background before doing the conversion?
That would be an idea.
So, it might be that that photo might have excessive disparity if everything were in focus, and by things being out of focus, it might be that you don't hurt your eyes as much after you do the conversion, and that's complete speculation. In other words, it's not.
I bet you're right, because a 2D photographer is not too worried about disparity. So.
But basically, if things are blurred in the front or back, the photographer might open the lens up all the way to f2.8 or something deliberately to put everything out of focus except the focus, and that has the advantage if you're shooting something that's moving. You completely stop the action, and you also get the effect of a blurred foreground and background. So it might have been deliberate.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't do stuff like that, but then again, I'm not a professional photographer, so I can't.
Anybody else have a suggestion for a free conversion software to use besides Marigold?
So if you look back in stereo views, I don't remember what the software I used was, but I did an article on this preceded Leia, and I did an article on it was like a two-part article. I did both colorization and 3D conversion in that in the same article.
I remember that, Herb. Yeah.
And so I don't know how that compares to the quality of newer conversion software, but it was completely free. I didn't pay for the 3D conversion. I paid for the colorization software, but the 3D conversion software, I think it was Google Colab.
Oh yeah, that was one of the first ones I think to come out.
So,
Apple has a very good 3D creation tool. They call it Depth Pro. It came out after Marigold and after others. There was one or two others that came after Marigold, but Apple's version, Depth Pro, is actually pretty good. I don't know if you can use it online, like at Hugging Face. I downloaded the code and compiled it myself, but if there's any way you can get your hands on Depth Pro, it'd be quite worthwhile.
Well, I noticed Marigold was on that Hugging Face, whatever that is. I don't understand that stuff. Is that stuff you can download, the software?
Yeah, Hugging Face is kind of like a GitHub. They kind of hoard all sorts of software, an awful lot of machine learning and AI stuff, and this depth conversion stuff kind of falls into that AI sort of thing. The nice thing about Hugging Face is they will often host the software and put up a version that you can actually run, that the author provides all the infrastructure for you to run this through a web interface. Give me a minute, let me see if I can find a link to it.
So both Looking Glass Factory and Leia offered tools for doing those conversions paid, right? I think when I bought my Looking Glass portrait, it came with this, so many number of conversions or something like that was included in the price that I never tried any. I have no idea what the cost is to use. The Leia software is now called Immersity, like immersive.
Immersity, right?
Cost.
Yeah, I used that when it was free at first, the Leia.
It's not particularly expensive. They kind of mask the cost by making you buy, they call, I don't know, their credits or bonus bucks or whatever they call them. I think it works out to less than $1 per image. And then you have a free watermark version that you can use. And then you have some options to download different resolutions in different stereo formats. And I think some of those are more or less expensive. But I think even the most expensive option is still less than $1 per image for Immersity.
On the World of Depth website in June of this year, Gordon, is it Gordon now? Yeah. Posted an article about modern depth estimators, and he evaluates 5 free depth estimators, and he shows the difference between these. I'll put a link in the chat. So he compares, he's got Midas depth anything, Zode depth, Patch Fusion, and Marigold. So
yeah, I remember that, but I didn't remember they were all free ones. That's really nice.
That's what he says here. He says there have been numerous updates. Yeah, and he says this is a 4-part series. I will compare the 5 free depth estimates. So
thank you.
So take a look at that article.
Yeah.
This Apple Depth Pro looks very interesting. It's something you have to download and compile to make work. It's not like a website.
Is that in?
It looks like Mike just put the link in the chat. That's great.
And there is, if you go to that website, it's on Hugging Face. If you look on the right-hand side of the page, there's a section called Spaces Using Apple Depth Pro. And it shows 8 different sections, 8 people. And if you click on one of those, it takes you to a page where you can drop an image and then collect the results.
Oh, okay.
Very nice.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm going to be playing with this all night.
The thing I found nice about Depth Pro is that in certain other tools like the LeiaPix or the Immersity, and I think it was Marigold as well, it had problems with things like fences. If you have a wrought iron fence, the software just could not figure it out. Looking in between the vertical poles, it would just really mess up the depth. It seems that Apple's Depth Pro could figure that out. I mean, they all have different problems, but Apple seems to address some of the more blatant ones I've seen with other converters. I have a question for Herb. On the ISU portfolios,
Yes.
when you get those copies, do you get those in anaglyph, or do you have side-by-side that you can present?
They are in side-by-side. And so what happens is I use the side-by-side for projecting it on my 3D TV. Let me tell you, so I am hosting the meeting on a Mac, and what I do for viewing it on the 3D TV, I use VLC. I believe VLC is available for Windows as well. And so VLC, you can open up either a side-by-side half-width or a side-by-side full-width video, and then you there's a video menu, and you choose aspect ratio 16:9. And so if it's a 16:9 video, if it's half-width, it basically knows that it should be 16:9. If it's full width, then it also knows that it has to be 16:9. So it understands how to present either the half width or the full width, and so and then I use that to view it on my 3D TV. And so even if it's side-by-side full width, it puts it on my TV in side-by-side half width, and then on the TV I say this is, a 3D side-by-side half width, and then my 3D TV shows it. Now for sharing it in Zoom, I use a different program called SView, because what I'm doing is I'm playing the video simultaneously using two different programs, one for sharing on Zoom and one for showing on the TV. So I use SView for sharing the video in Zoom, and that also can recognize either half-width or full-width videos, but then I tell it to play it in anaglyph rather than in side-by-side. So in real time, it converts it to anaglyph, and that's what I share on Zoom.
I believe that the people in Zoom probably have viewers that would give us superior rendering of the side-by-side as opposed to dealing with the anaglyph. That's why.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But the problem is, essentially, if I'm going to present it in side-by-side, you wouldn't want it in squished format. You'd want it in side-by-side full-width format.
Right. Okay.
And that is where the problem is, because there's probably a way to do it, but now you're going to have half the screen, in other words, a quarter of the top and a quarter of the bottom of the screen is going to be black, because you're now going to have a 32:9 video that has to fit on a 16:9 screen. And so the feeling was, since I'm the Zoom is live streamed, if you switch to the live stream YouTube video, that's going to be side by side. So that's going to give you another way of viewing it. But it's still going to be side by side half width, not side by side full width. And Mike, this isn't cast in concrete. This is basic. This is all a work in progress, and we continually try and figure out how to make things work for the greatest number of people. And you are muted, Mike.
Yes, I didn't know that the YouTube stream was in side-by-side. That's good to know. I'll go back and review that. Thank you.
And so basically, you can go back and review it, and if you have a device like a 3D TV or a Lume Pad or anything that can view a side-by-side half width, then you can actually view it in 3D with good color fidelity.
I was also wondering if we could take a moment to go back to one of Matt's images.
We can. So
Sure. It's number 0023. It's the conversion he did of his little tent.
Right, the pop-up tent, yes.
Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to quickly move back through this.
You're talking about the Stereo Goomer Society.
Stereo Goomer Society, yeah.
That's pretty funny.
Try to get an AI to write the word stereoscopic. It just won't do it. It'll get halfway and then just kind of give up. It's too many letters for it or something. I don't know.
I see that all the time online. Words are mangled by AI.
Yeah, it's bizarre. And you know, I specifically instructed it to put the words Golden Gate Stereoscopic Society on it, but it just did its own thing.
Now remember this attitude that AI has.
I think I'm close to where.
Comes to robots.
Right.
So tell me. Let me go forward again. So you're looking for, I think it's the last one of Matt's. That one?
Right.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
I'm doing this on a passive screen, a little 23-inch screen. It looks like the top of the tent, or at least the top of the two poles in front, are coming out from the screen. It's breaking the window. But if I look down at the concrete at the bottom edge of the image, I'm not seeing that window violation.
I'm seeing it here.
It's just kind of confusing because it looks like it ought to be fully out of the window, but the base at the ground is not, but the top of the tent is, but then it doesn't feel like it's leaning forward. It's just kind of confusing me, and I don't know where.
It's definitely an imperfect conversion. The thing that really throws me is the tent has sort of windows on the side, and the conversion really didn't know what to make of those. You should be seeing through them, but instead it's just sort of like artwork painted on the side of the interior. I see that too. I wonder, you know, I've got it in Stereo Photomaker right now. Let me see if there's a way to align it. I don't think I did much aligning on this. Yeah, it's definitely, you know, part of it is through the window. Looking at it in the easy adjustment tool, it looks like, yeah, maybe, you know, most or really all of the tent is in front of the window. So that's definitely throwing things. It's also probably sort of warped the stereo in the background or on the sides of this tent also, because I can see, like, you know, there's a virtual person and looks like sort of sporting two heads. I don't know, but this can be improved. I'm actually adjusting it in Stereo Photomaker, and if I line up those poles, it looks better. So I think it's just an artifact of the conversion process. The tent really doesn't seem to be as deep as it should be either. It's supposed to be an 8 by 8 foot tent, but it's kind of like an 8 by 4 tent or something as the conversion shows it.
I was expecting a more painful or disturbing window violation there, but I'm not seeing it. I mean, the image looks pleasant.
It's not too painful to watch.
No, it's a great shot.
This was an interesting process. I used Dolly, Image Gen, and Photoshop's generative fill to kind of piece this together, and then the immersity conversion at the end of it. And I really found that, especially with Dolly, you really couldn't prompt it too often because it really just wanted to turn this into a living room. It saw a TV. It would slip a little couch in there and then some mood lighting, and the tent would get smaller and smaller, and the TV would become more and more prominent. This was by Image Gen, which is primarily by Image Gen, which is Google's AI generating tool. So for what it's worth, it was a fun experiment. I don't think we'll put the tent right in the middle of the street as the AI is done here. We'll put it on the side so people can walk through.
Well, when you get that tent made, I would definitely have it say Stereo Goober.
Right.
Get that just like that.
We'll probably call ourselves the Stereo Goomers now. The AI has determined that for us. Yeah, this is something we're going to try. We've got lots of street festivals and art fairs and that kind of thing, and I think this will draw a big crowd, as our table at the Maker Faire it did last year.
And Herb, from your shots at the Maker Faire that you did, you had three shots of a woman in a little, looks like a little tent vehicle of some sort.
Okay, so that was basically Claire Dean, and that was the Puddletown Panorama. And it might be, if you search for Puddletown Panorama, you might even find some articles about it. I don't know, maybe even Wikipedia would have something about it.
The gentleman she's speaking to, the guy with the black t-shirt and long hair, I'm not certain, but I believe his name is Paul Stoffregen.
I don't know.
And he is well known in the embedded electronics field for being the creator of a little single board computer called the Teensy, which is like 100 times more intelligent than an Arduino. It's pushing up to the capabilities of a Raspberry Pi, and he's a really excellent engineer and software guy. So I know you're a software fellow yourself, so I'll have to reach out to Paul and see if that is indeed him in this shot.
Yeah, he can probably tell you some interesting stories about it if it is him. I think at this point Claire is fairly down on the whole thing because she put so much money into it, and then didn't have the money or the funding to take care of it, and so she sort of views it as an unfortunate negative experience for her. And I can certainly understand
That's too bad.
But she did take it to Burning Man. It did make its way around. So.
All right, everyone, I need to drop off. Great meeting, great slideshow. Thank you, Herb, for a great year. And we'll see everyone in 2025.
Okay, thanks everybody for.
Good night, man. I'm going to creep out of here too. I've got Christmas cookies to make.
It's that time of year.
Quarter after midnight, I got to get those in the oven here. So.
Merry Christmas, all.
Good night, all.
Good night.
I got a request.
Yes.
Can you arrange one lecture here in this group about evaluation of 3D images? I don't have any mentors here to get help. So if you can give a small lecture along with this meeting one month.
So we did actually talk about it as promised at the 3D board meeting, and I'll tell you what, because if you want to just hang around and give me a minute to run upstairs, get the minutes, we actually came up with 2 potential topics for you. But I don't remember what they were, but I have them written down. So be back in a minute.
Okay.
Good night, Herb. Good night, Dr. Nair.
Good night.
Good night.
Okay, so these are just suggestions that we came up with that we thought might be interesting. The first idea was a historical retrospective, where we talk about, 3D, back in the days, of the Holmes stereoscope and drawings and sketches and early photography and film cameras and digital and AI and, in other words, just talk about historical perspective.
Yeah, that would be nice, so that it will be a good introduction.
Okay, the other one that we came up with was to compare 2D to 3D. So basically, take some photos that, and as you said, they have to be anaglyphs. So take some photos where you have perhaps a black and white photo and show it in 2D, and then show it as an anaglyph 3D, and say, see how much the 3D adds, makes the photo more interesting.
Okay, I think both are good. I prefer the first one as a first lecture.
Okay.
And later we can have the second one.
Okay, so I'm glad that you like those ideas, because, in other words, we spent about 15 minutes talking about and say, for somebody who's not experienced with 3D, what are the topics that we could discuss? So we haven't actually, nobody specifically volunteered to present it, but, what we were doing was we said you were scheduled out through May, So it wasn't
Okay.
something we needed right away, but we wanted to get back to you and say we have talked about it, and those are the ideas we came up with.
Okay, what I'll do is I'll give your email address to the mentor, sorry, his name, okay. The person who is conducting this, and he will directly contact you so that you can arrange the month and the time. But time usually it will be early morning for you, somewhere around 6 o'clock.
Okay.
Yeah, that will be, usually it is on third Sunday.
Yeah.
Here. Third Sunday here means it will be, third Sunday of your morning. Of the month.
Okay.
Now what I asked is, can you give a small lecture here in this one, CSC, it's a monthly meeting? What is the major criteria for selecting a 3D image? What is the evaluation when a judge does during the exhibition? That will help me to choose my good photographs for competitions.
Okay, so yeah, if you look at our web page, let me open a browser here so I can find it for you.
Because nowadays I am seeing some accepted photographs are having even window violations.
So yeah, let me find, because we have a write-up on our web page, but I need to open up a browser and find it. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the live stream and stop the recording.